Welcome to a special series of the 5-Minute Biographies podcast, while we wait for season 18 of the regular show to commence. During this series, we are taking a brief look at the lives of the first 10 presidents of the United States. This is episode 7, Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States, was born on the 15th of March, 1767 in the Waxhaw region, a border area between North and South Carolina. His presidency, which lasted from 1829 to 1837, was marked by his appeal to the common man and his transformative yet controversial influence on American politics. A figure of both admiration and criticism, Jackson's life was characterized by his fierce determination, military heroism, and unwavering commitment to his personal ideals. Jackson's early life was marked by hardship and loss. His parents, Andrew Jackson and Elizabeth Hutchinson, were immigrants from Ireland who settled in the Carolinas before his birth. His father died just before he was born, leaving his mother to raise him and his two brothers in difficult circumstances. The Jackson family lived in relative poverty, and Andrew received little formal education during his childhood. His mother placed great emphasis on self-reliance and resilience, values that would shape Jackson's character throughout his life. The American Revolution had a profound impact on the young Jackson. At the age of 13, he joined the local militia, serving as a courier during the war. Both of his brothers died as a result of their involvement in the conflict, and Jackson himself was captured by the British. During his imprisonment, he was struck by a British officer for refusing to clean the officer's boots, leaving him with a lifelong hatred of the British and a scar on his face. His mother died shortly thereafter, while tending to American prisoners, leaving Jackson an orphan at the age of 14. The trauma of these experiences shaped Jackson's tough, combative personality and his deep-seated nationalism. After the war, Jackson attempted to pursue an education, but his rebellious nature often got him into trouble. Eventually, he decided to study law, and by 1787 he had been admitted to the bar in North Carolina. He moved west to what would later become Tennessee, where he established himself as a successful lawyer and land speculator. His legal career provided him with financial security, and by 1796, Jackson had become a prominent figure in Tennessee, helping to draft the state's constitution and serving as its first U.S. congressman. He later served as a senator, although he found legislative work unsatisfying. Jackson's rise to national prominence began with his military career, particularly during the War of 1812. He earned widespread fame for his leadership in the Battle of New Orleans in 1815, where his forces defeated a much larger British army. This victory made Jackson a national hero, celebrated for his toughness and tactical skill. His reputation as a military leader was further enhanced by his campaigns against Native American tribes in the Southeast, including the Creek War and his involvement in securing Florida from Spanish control. In 1824, Jackson made his first bid for the presidency. Although he won the most electoral and popular votes, he did not secure a majority, and the election was decided by the House of Representatives. The House chose John Quincy Adams, and Jackson's supporters claimed that a corrupt bargain had been struck between Adams and Henry Clay, who had used his influence to sway the vote. This defeat galvanized Jackson and his followers, who believed that the will of the people had been subverted. In response, Jackson built a broad political coalition, laying the foundation for the Democratic Party. Jackson's successful presidential campaign in 1828 was characterized by populist rhetoric, appealing to the common man and railing against the political elite. His supporters saw him as a champion of democracy, while his opponents feared his strong-willed, sometimes authoritarian tendencies. Upon taking office, Jackson wasted no time in enacting his agenda, which became known as Jacksonian democracy. His presidency marked a significant shift in American politics, with an emphasis on greater democratic participation, particularly for white male voters, and the dismantling of institutions that Jackson believed favored the wealthy elite. One of Jackson's most controversial policies was his opposition to the Second Bank of the United States. He viewed the bank as a tool of the wealthy and a threat to democratic government. In 1832, he vetoed a bill to renew the bank's charter, setting off a fierce political battle that became known as the Bank War. Jackson's decision to withdraw federal funds from the bank and place them in state banks, known as pet banks, led to economic instability and contributed to the Panic of 1837, a financial crisis that would mark the early years of his successor's presidency. Another deeply contentious aspect of Jackson's presidency was his policy toward Native Americans. In 1830, he signed the Indian Removal Act, which authorized the forced relocation of Native American tribes from their ancestral lands in the southeastern United States to areas west of the Mississippi River. The most infamous result of this policy was the Trail of Tears, during which thousands of Cherokee people were forcibly removed from their homes, with many dying from disease, exposure, and starvation along the way. Jackson's supporters saw this as necessary for the expansion of American settlement, while his critics decried it as a violation of Native American rights. Despite these controversies, Jackson remained immensely popular with a broad swath of the American public. He portrayed himself as a man of the people, in stark contrast to the political elites of the era, and his supporters admired his personal toughness and straightforwardness. His use of the presidential veto and his willingness to challenge Congress and the judiciary reflected his belief in a strong executive branch. Jackson's presidency also had significant lasting effects on the Democratic Party, which he helped to solidify as a powerful political force. His legacy, however, remains deeply polarizing. While he is celebrated for expanding Democratic participation and asserting the power of the presidency, his treatment of Native Americans and his disregard for the rights of minorities have drawn significant criticism. After serving 2 terms, Jackson retired to his plantation, the Hermitage, in Tennessee, where he spent the remaining years of his life. He continued to exert political influence, particularly during the presidency of his chosen successor, Martin Van Buren. Jackson remained a larger-than-life figure, his image that of a man who embodied the rugged individualism and democratic spirit of the American frontier. Andrew Jackson died on the 8th of June, 1845, at the Hermitage, at the age of 78. His legacy as a transformative and controversial president endures to this day. Whether viewed as a populist hero or as a figure of overreach and oppression, Jackson's impact on the presidency and the nation's political landscape remains undeniable. His life and presidency continue to spark debate over the role of government, democracy, and leadership in American history. I hope you enjoyed that special episode of 5-Minute Biographies. If you did, why not subscribe or leave a review wherever you get your podcasts? Also, why not check out our other 5-Minute podcasts at 5minuteproductions.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.